You know you should come up with your title and thumbnail before filming, but for some reason you never really do that. And then when your video you work so hard on stays stuck at like 39 views, well, that's annoying. And I know because I've been making hundreds of videos, and only once some of those videos went viral, I was able to come up with a super simple method to create title and thumbnails that will actually get you clicks and views. And it involves 3 boxes, as I will explain shortly. Now, I've seen countless of tutorials from YouTube experts that actually I think make the process a little bit more complicated than it should be. Like, you have to think about colors, composition, frameworks, the text placement, have a human face in the thumbnail, like all of these small details. And while those things can be helpful, they also can feel completely overwhelming when you're just trying to make a good video. At least that's how I felt until my first viral video on this channel made me realize how it actually boils down to something much simpler than that. Basic human psychology. People click on a video simply because there's something in that title and thumbnail that triggers an emotion in them. And so here's what I think you should be focusing on, and it's something I call the emotional hook. So what is an emotional hook? Let's start by thinking about ourselves. Like, what makes you click on a video? It's always some kind of emotional reaction, right? This could be curiosity, or perhaps there's something about that title and thumbnail that feels like it's reading your mind, that's tapping into your struggles or desires. Basically, that video title and thumbnail are pulling you in emotionally. And once you're watching the video, there's something about the first seconds that's keeping you watching, because the art of pulling people's attention is not just about clicks, but also about retention. And so the first thing I want you to understand is that titles, thumbnails, and the opening of your video, or the first 20 to 30 seconds, shouldn't really be treated separately, but they actually work together to form the emotional hook of your video. And this brings me to the 3 boxes method I mentioned earlier. So pretend you have 3 boxes in front of you. They all have empty space inside, and your job is to fill that empty space with words and visuals that will work together to express that emotional hook in different ways, depending on, whether it's a title, a thumbnail, or the opening of your video, right? So the title will be punchy and concise, the thumbnail is visual, and the opening will be more descriptive. So let's have a look at the first step to define these elements and fill those empty boxes. As soon as you've got an idea for a video, you need to ask yourself, why does this video matter to my audience? Think of a real person who might watch this video. Like, maybe there's someone who's commented before or you've engaged with, and like an avatar, like someone in your audience well. Let's say their name is Jack. So ask yourself these 3 questions. Number 1, what problem does Jack have that this video will solve? Number 3, what frustrations does he experience that will make this video worth watching? And number 3, what desires or aspirations drive him to click? Now list these things down, and the more you can come up with, the better, and most importantly, the more specific you can be, the better. Let me walk you through this using this very video as an example. So for this video I'm filming, I knew people in my audience struggle with creating title and thumbnails, and as a result, their videos don't get a lot of clicks and views. And so the problem is that there's no simple way to understand how to create them. So many YouTube experts share complex frameworks, and it can be just very confusing to apply, especially for a beginner. The frustration is that they feel like they're bad at it, like they spend hours making great video, but then they feel super defeated when it's time to think of a good title or design the thumbnail. And then the desire is just to have a simple way to come up with titles and thumbnails quickly and confidently that will actually get them views. And so once I'm clear on these emotions, I write down a list of things I'd want to tell Jack about this topic. A list of things that will speak directly to these problems, frustrations, and desires. And I'll pop some examples somewhere here next to me. In this list of things, I also include my thoughts and my opinions about the topic, almost as if I'm opening a dialogue with Jack, showing Jack that I understand where he's coming from and that I know that there's a better way forward. Now, obviously, these are a lot of things I want to tell Jack to really get his attention. And so the next step is to take these things and think about those 3 boxes and the space inside those boxes and start assembling the sentences depending on the available space I have in each box and the purpose of each for format of the title, the thumbnail, and the opening. So for example, for my title, I could do "You'll never struggle with titles and thumbnails again." And you know, that's a little bit plain, so maybe I'll spice it up with some curiosity, such as "Give me 8 minutes and you'll never struggle with titles and thumbnails again." Then for the thumbnail, I normally like to keep it simple. I just take a screenshot from my video and I add a couple of extra 2 to 4 words that really stand out and tap into those desires and really generate curiosity, complementing the title nicely. And finally, in the opening of the video, I'll be a little bit more descriptive and confirm those things I have in the title, but I will also get straight to the point. Literally, I usually read the sentence and I time myself and make sure that I can read it in like 20 to 30 seconds max to avoid rambling and going off tangents. And then what I like to do is prepare some A/B tests. So for the title, I'll have 3 variations as well as for the thumbnails. And then I like to prepare these A/B tests using my Canva template to actually see how this will look like in real life. But alternatively, you can also use a tool like Thumbs Up to test things out. And even better, if you can plan your title, thumbnails, and opening of your video ideas in advance for at least a batch of videos, this gives you a clear idea of what you're working towards and will make your videos feel cohesive and not just standalone pieces. So I normally do this for about 90 days in advance. So I work on 6 videos at a time. I think about my idea, I think about title, thumbnail, and opening for each video, and I just literally visualize and see how they will look like before I actually go on and start scripting and filming the video. Sometimes I even use ChatGPT to come up with some thumbnail concept I have in mind, and it's just always so funny and just so ridiculous how I look alike in these mock-ups. Now, if you want to have the copy of this exact process, along with my scripting and filming template and my full YouTube workflow, check out the link in the description box down below. Now, by this point in this video, I'm sure you understand why it's so important to start working on title, thumbnail, and opening before you work on the script and the filming. And that is because that script and that filming is informed by the emotions that will drive people to click, not the other way around. So basically, you're now no longer thinking from your creative perspective, but instead you're thinking in reverse, like you're putting yourself into your audience's mind before you go ahead and produce your content. And at the end of the day, I know I make it sound so simple, but I really think it is simple once you finally understand your audience's psychology. There's no way around it. There are no complicated frameworks, color wheels, advanced neuroscience techniques and tricks to grab attention or open curiosity loops, you know, none of that jazz. It's really just about getting to know your audience to the core. And the best way to do this is to interact with them. So for example, I often chat with creators in my audience through my Instagram or even Voxer for more one-to-one conversations. And when you offer to help someone with something they're struggling with, you get invited into their world. And it's through that you will naturally start to understand what makes people click and watch.